Hey everybody, we are live again. This is Jason Hommel and Jennifer Hommel,
Hi.
part of the Copper Revolution, and we are doing some science experiments today. Woohoo! So I had this really great science experiment that somebody shared in the forum about a month ago, I guess now. And what we're going to be doing is mixing copper sulfate and potassium iodide. And what it does is it makes both iodine, plus it makes a copper 1 iodine, which shows that we can make a copper 1. And it shows that iodine plus copper sulfate makes that iodine helps to reduce copper sulfate. So this busts two myths. Number one, it busts the myth that copper 2 is poisonous because iodine reduces copper 2 to copper 1. It also busts the myth that you just can't put iodine in coffee because then it will bind and there's no way for it to unbind because copper solves the problem. So let's go ahead and do the experiment and we'll bust these two myths out together in one fell swoop. So we're going to be making a copper 1, plus we're going to be making a iodine out of fully bound iodide.
So we're
So
starting
once it's in an yes, right, go ahead, start with.
we're starting with supersaturated potassium iodide.
That's right.
And this is super easy to make at home.
Yes.
You just buy potassium iodide crystals
It's a little yellow.
and then you let the whole thing dissolve. Once the crystals have all dissolved, then that's when you know it's supersaturated.
That's right.
And then we're adding our 1 milligram per drop.
So
Copper
before we
sulfate.
say it's going to turn dark because it liberates the iodine that's trapped as the iodide. So just because the iodine has gone away doesn't mean it's gone forever. We'll re-liberate it just with the copper sulfate.
Yeah.
Look how dark that has become. Boom. It was a light liquid and another light blue liquid, and now it's like fully dark, almost as dark as Lugol's. Now, I'm going to bring it really close to the camera so that you can see that it's not exactly like Lugol's. There's a little bit of opaqueness to it, and the opaque is actually white. So copper iodine, copper 1 iodine is white, and iodine bound to iodine, which stays in solution when it's next to potassium iodide in Lugol's, is the darkness. So it's an opaque. It's not exactly like, it didn't make it like iodine, or it didn't make it into Lugol's, but it's yeah. There's both parts of that in there. Iodine and copper one. Copper 1. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the next one
The next experiment.
is going to be hot
Hot
water.
water. So the next experiment. Whoa! While you do it, I'll read it. It's we're doing vitamin C, boron, and copper sulfate, and this will turn the blue orange. This also makes a copper 1, just with vitamin C and a little bit of boron, which are all on our protocol, so you don't have to worry that the copper 2 that you're taking is somehow poisonous because it turns into copper 1 inside the body when you take all the minerals.
Yeah, the body easily converts it.
Let's just do 2 of these in there. Oh, I should have done that last. It's
Yeah,
okay.
that's okay.
Doesn't matter the order.
Okay.
So now boron and the vitamin C.
All right.
I will hold it. You put those in.
So we're using the powdered ascorbic acid powder, vitamin C powder, 1/8 teaspoon.
And this will turn it orange. See how light blue it is. Slowly reacting, but not too much.
Yeah, Pedro. We'll talk about that in just a minute.
Who is Pedro?
Oh,
Pedro's who you should
Pedro.
vote for. Oh my gosh, it's foaming! It's creating an explosion. That's wild. That was great.
That's awesome.
So look at it. It looks like orange juice. It's gotten so orange. So that's a copper 1. How fun.
Yeah, and so normally, whenever you take these supplements that we personally take and that we recommend to have the best benefits, your body takes care of all of these conversions on the inside.
That's right.
So we don't normally see these.
So the last one is vitamin C and Lugol's and the copper. And it will turn a milky white because Lugol's is dark.
Okay, so we're going to start with the Lugol's.
And do we need to put a little bit of water in this one? You didn't write down water in our
I don't think we put water in the other one.
Just put it.
Just
do two.
Just a tiny bit.
Just a tiny bit. Because we have vitamin C powder, and it's going to need a. Let's start with the vitamin C powder this time. Make sure we pre-dissolve that before we continue further.
All right. There we go. Alright, so there's our vitamin C powder. I'm just going to dissolve it. There we go.
Camera there. Alright. And what else? But Lugol's and copper. Let's do the copper next and do the Lugol's last, because the whole point of this is to turn it white.
Okay.
We're going to turn the Lugol's white.
Okay.
So do 2 full droppers of that.
2 full droppers.
Yeah. Notice this one isn't turning orange because it didn't have the baking soda.
Maybe a little
not really
bit.
reacting
it's a little
quite so
bit
much.
darker.
Okay, this is going to turn white, and by white, it's going to make a copper. I know it's going to make a copper 1 iodine. Oh, look, it is. It's a little. It's like precipitating. It's doing weird things.
Okay.
Okay.
And
it's going to turn milky white. It's going to make the copper 1 iodine. Look at that milky white. Wow. So where did the iodine go? It turned into a copper 1 iodine. So this is the milky stuff that was in the first one, why it was opaque and why you couldn't see through it, like you can kind of halfway see through iodine like it's dark wine or something.
Right.
So that's copper 1 iodine.
Yes. We looked at
copper iodide.
Yeah, we watched a lot of like chemistry videos on YouTube about these experiments and how it reduces, and it's very fascinating.
So first we liberated the iodine and it turned dark. Then we made a copper 1 and it turned orange, and then we made a copper 1 iodine and it's milky white. There we go. That's
fascinating.
That's the chemistry for today. It's science, bro! Woo! How fun that was to refute 2 myths at once with that first experiment. Because people are saying that copper 2 is poisonous and that you need a copper 1. It all turns to copper 1 inside your body. It goes back and forth from copper 1 to copper 2. You don't have to worry about it. Copper is copper. It doesn't matter what form it is. It's not toxic in small doses. It becomes toxic at 20,000 milligrams.
Right. So even at 30 milligrams is still an extremely small dose.
Yeah, we're known for our high dose iodine, but really Radmacher back in Germany, he was giving people 200 milligrams of just pure copper oxide.
Right.
And getting great healing results. He called it a cure-all. We're so low dose that just because there's nobody else out there these days advocating 200 milligrams of copper, it doesn't mean that, we're the insane people.
And speaking of high dose, we took high dose iodine for a whole year. We did 2,000 milligrams
a day of iodine in the form of this super saturated potassium iodide right here.
And Lugol's
They call it SSKI because KI stands for its chemical name. We call it super saturated. It really means it's
fully saturated.
Fully saturated. So to get this, you just buy potassium iodide crystals and you fill the bottle just over halfway with crystals, and then you add hot water to the top and shake it up, and you might be able to see there's a little bit of crystals at the very bottom. I don't know if you can see. Yes. Little bit of crystals at the bottom.
Maybe.
You can see, I can see there's crystals.
You probably can't see it on the camera.
That means it's fully saturated because it won't dissolve anymore. And if fully saturated, I used to think it was 70 milligrams per drop. It's actually 51 or 52 milligrams of iodine contained in the form of potassium iodide per drop. So we use that. We would take 10 drops 3 times a day. Well, I thought it was 7. We really took 1,500 milligrams of iodine, and then we also did another 300, so it was really 1,800 milligrams, close enough to 2,000 if you round up. Regardless, this is the main point. Sometimes things are a little fuzzy, and that is okay. It's okay. You don't have to get everything perfect. You just have to do it. Round numbers work. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of good.
That's right.
Let you elaborate on that.
That brings us right into why we're wearing our Vote for Pedro shirts today. So, what was it, 2003 or something? There was a movie.
2004.
2004. Napoleon Dynamite.
movie came out?
So I never saw it until just like recently.
Oh,
maybe,
really?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
maybe 2 years ago or so
Uh-huh.
when we watched it together the first time. But it was kind of like a huge hit. You know, kids would have Napoleon Dynamite themed birthday parties.
That's
I would
right.
always see these Vote for Pedro shirts. I never really quite got it. I thought, oh, that just looks so weird. But if you ever watch the movie, the whole theme of it is don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
That's what you got out of it. I don't know if they intended that to be the theme of the movie.
Well, that
but
is exactly what I got out of it. Because
let's tell the story of the movie.
okay,
You have to tell the story of the movie because you can't just assume they know.
okay.
So, you want me to tell the
You
story of the
start,
movie?
yes,
Okay, I'll
yes,
tell
yes.
the story of the movie and then you
Yes, I'll
reveal
edit
what.
it.
Okay, so
Yes.
Napoleon Dynamite is this total geek and he has his hair, it's curly and it's long, like my hair is getting curly and long. He's this geek. He does everything wrong.
And he gets so frustrated so easily.
Yes.
Ooh,
Yes.
You know,
So,
frustrated.
It's a geek movie, right? And then at the end, his buddy is named Pedro, and his buddy is running for class office,
Class president.
class president. And the buddy gives a speech, and they're like, "Okay, what is your plan, skit?" And he's like, "Skit? Oh, I have to do a
we
skit."
didn't know we were supposed to
Didn't
do a
even know he
skit.
had to do a skit, and that kind of is like people who are like, "Oh, copper? I didn't know I had to do copper. Oh," and so he just wings it. Okay, completely just wings it and does a little dance because he's been practicing doing a little dance, and the whole class is watching, and he dances, and he does this great dance. And everybody's like jaws are dropping because they can't believe what a great dancer this total nerd is.
Right, he's
and he just
tall and
brings the
lanky
house
and-
down. Everybody
right.
claps and says it was
Yes.
fantastic and wonderful, even though he just completely just pulled it, just spontaneous and didn't know what he was doing. That's what it's like kind of when you're taking copper. You don't know everything. You're seeing some testimonials. People are getting good results. You've read this and that for a month. You haven't read the full book.
People
What am
share
I-
their struggles. They
Yeah.
share their triumphs.
Some people are having
It's-
detox reactions. You're a little afraid. Just like the guy was, oh my God, I'm going to do a dance in front of everybody now. Ugh. Because he's helping his buddy Pedro, who's running for class president. So
Right. Vote for Pedro.
Vote for
And
Pedro.
even these shirts, they're just like so basic and kind of janky,
Right.
you know. And so when Jason first showed me the cover of the book, because I was like, okay, let's get the cover of the book done. You can do this. I know we can create this ourselves. So he did this while I was at work, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist.
you wanted the
total
book cover to be perfect.
perfectionist.
I thought the book cover was fantastic.
It is fantastic, but it had to grow on me a little bit because I was like, oh, it just looks so basic. And he's like, yes, but there's elements in here, and there's the reason why there's this way.
Yeah.
So over time, I had to learn to just embrace that because it wasn't my idea of perfect. It was still perfect,
Right.
you know,
Still
and
worked.
it still worked, and it was great. So we have to learn. A lot of us are perfectionists, and we have to learn to not
You're a
let
perfectionist.
Oh,
Admit it.
over the top.
Not everybody's a perfectionist. I let that go a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm
Because
still working
if
on
you
it.
try to wait until everything is perfect, maybe I would never have finished the book, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's some things in there that I'd like to change, but it's very, very good as it is. And sometimes it's important to just release it than it is to just keep working on it to the death.
Right.
You have to just, because it's
Right.
never going to be perfect.
Right.
You have to just, get it done, and that's the important thing. Like I like to say, and we said this so we came out with a new book. Let's talk a little bit about our new book.
Okay, yeah. So we haven't received a copy of our new book yet.
Right.
So, we really don't even know what the printed version looks like. And Amazon, they recommend that people do like a pre-launch, like a 2-week pre-launch, and
We didn't pre-launch
we didn't do
it,
that
no.
because I think that's
It's important
kinda,
to just get it
yeah,
out. We
sorry,
don't need
gotta get it
marketing
out there.
gimmicky stuff. It's important
Right.
to just get the information out. It's a hardback. It's only a hardback. We did release it as an ebook for people who want the first 80 pages, but it's designed as a journal. And if you're
Right.
going to be carrying around a journal, you want it to look nice, so it's a hardback.
Right, a hardback. 'cause
Hardback
we don't
allows you to
want it
write on something.
Yeah, and we
so
don't
that you
want
can
it to
do
fall apart because
That's
you know
right.
whenever
It's
you're
gotta be
carrying
sturdy.
a book with you, or it's for people who want to maybe write down all the things that they've done and discovered, and then take it to their doctor's office and
Right.
show them. Even though we don't do that.
Right.
But,
So the first book is all about the scientific theories about why copper is important, and as well as our own personal experiences. And then there's about 7 or 8 testimonials in the beginning. And there's a little bit of how-to, but the how-to is the best I could do before we had a forum, okay? We've gotten a lot more how-to information from the feedback from everybody, and this is how we made our free online quick start guide.
Right,
But
because we incorporate all the information and feedback.
the Quick
that
Start
people
Guide
give
was
us.
created after we've done the forum, and it's gotten better and better over time as we add more and more identifying various problems as well as various solutions. And that goes into the Quick Start Guide. And I've written probably 40 to 50 essays in the last year since the book came out, all about copper. And so we've taken our top 7 essays and put them together in this hardback that are all explain the how-to.
Right, because sometimes what happens when people see the Quick Start Guide online,
There's 30 links in there.
There's 30 links, and
And
they
they're
kind of get
linking everywhere.
bogged down in the links. And
Right.
so we just wanted to make this, in the hardback version, a more concise, clear path from here in chapter form.
Right.
You know, from here to here to here, and
Right.
it has all the information
Right.
to get started.
And it's only 80 pages. So people who are having a little bit of a brain fog, it's a lot easier than reading a 520-page book, which is more academic in nature. This is more. Our second book is more how-to in nature. The Quick Start Guide and Companion Journal, which I think it's going to be necessary as the next step before I write, let's say, other books about copper, because I will then refer people, well, this is how you do it right here, so that the movement can grow. It's a vital next step. So
And also, one thing that we learned in our journey, we didn't have all of the information about copper when we started.
no, we did not.
We just knew that we knew what the copper deficiency symptoms were.
We knew we felt
We
good
knew that it
on
was
it.
very beneficial.
I knew that the upper limit was sort of fraudulently established and not clearly established, and that the problems happen at much higher levels. I want to talk about, there was this one guy who had supposedly liver problems at 20 to 30 milligrams and died. This is in the science that the government uses. However, in the title it says copper caused liver damage. Now, you can't determine causation from a case study. Any statistics student knows this, so the very headline of this one study is a lie. Second of all, we don't have any further information about this one guy. There's no information of whether he had liver disease, or whether he was an alcoholic, or whether he was taking other medicines, or whether he was trying to take copper to fix his liver problems, or who knows what else he was taking. There's just flat out no further information, which is why you can't determine causation from a case study. They tell us this all the time with kids who've been injected and then have damage. Even though there's tens of thousands of cases of damage, they still say you can't determine causation from a single case study, even when there's not a single one. But in this area of copper, it's just one guy. It also happened in the same year they came out with the tolerable upper limit, which is very suspicious, like it came out just in the nick of time. And then there's never been a single case study since. And there's numerous case studies that invalidate this case study, because one guy took 2,000 milligrams of copper every day for 4 months. And if you add that all up, it's like 200,000 or more milligrams of copper. And he didn't have any liver damage. He had anemia. So apparently maybe he detoxed all of his iron or something. And there's other case studies where people have taken 20,000 milligrams of copper all in one dose, or even 100,000 milligrams of copper in one dose, and there's still not necessarily any liver damage. So the case study is invalidated by the other experiences. So that's why I decided to just not trust it, but also, we watched for that, right? So, and I did further research, and I found that copper deficiency is more damaging for the liver than actually getting your copper levels up. And 90% of all liver damage is hepatitis, and copper is antiviral. Hepatitis is a viral problem. Furthermore, most of the remainder of the liver damage is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and in the research it says that copper will fix non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. You actually had non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and we went into this going, well, you've got non-alcoholic.
Right.
There's this one guy who died, but I think it's going to be good. Let's try it and see. And sure enough, she cured her non-alcoholic fatty liver disease on copper and all the other minerals on our protocol.
Right.
We didn't just do copper. We did a bunch of other stuff. We take about 15 minerals, and we have also learned that you can't just start with all of our minerals. Sometimes some people can't even start with just a little bit of potassium and MSM sulfur. They take the smallest amounts and take a sip, and they're just puking and vomiting. The puking and vomiting problem is not exclusive to copper. It happens on boron, it happens on salt, it happens on MSM sulfur. It happens whenever you're introducing minerals into a body that is demineralized. It's the basic osmosis problem. Bodybuilders sometimes get very demineralized before a contest, and they sometimes cramp up. There's a bodybuilder about 25 years ago. His name was Momo Benaziza. I'm probably mispronouncing his name. He got very dehydrated in the middle of a contest, and they took him to the hospital, and he died purely from dehydration, because he's also probably taking diuretics, a ton of distilled water. And when your body is very demineralized, trying to add minerals gets very difficult, because if you take minerals into the stomach, your body then has to secrete water from the body tissues to try to balance out the mineral concentrations. And when a body is already dehydrated and demineralized, which is how they get bodybuilders get dehydrated in the first place, the guy ended up dying. So, a person's mineral status has everything to do with how difficult it's going to be to start on copper in the beginning. And it's not a copper problem. It's a general problem with all minerals.
Right.
So, again, we have to take enough copper to matter. We have to take enough copper to work. Everything you have to start slowly. Maybe introducing other minerals will work for those people who are out there struggling to get their copper levels up. Sometimes other minerals help. Sometimes maybe you could start with potassium. I have seen other people say, no, that was horrible. But usually the salts, or the common salts, potassium and sodium chloride, are a little easier to start with to help remineralize your body. And then once you get your minerals up from those, because those are more easily absorbed, then it's maybe a little bit easier to start with copper. I've been toying with the idea of suggesting that, but I see that doesn't always work either. So because that doesn't always work, it's hard for me to recommend that, because also Americans are typically very high in salt. But very often what happens the other way, people who are super health conscious with lots of health problems have specifically avoided salt. So there's no one size fits all problem for everybody. Yet at the same time, we know that everybody is copper deficient, because nobody is getting more than 0.6 milligrams of copper in their diets. For those people who are taking multi-mineral supplements, which includes everybody else, nobody's getting more than 3 milligrams. There's nobody out there who's advocating high copper except for us. Nobody's getting copper toxic from taking high copper like we are doing. So therefore, everybody is copper deficient. Everybody who's looking at copper toxicity is out there. They're using blood tests to do it. Blood tests are not reliable. And I've recently come out with a list of about 20 different reasons why they're just flat out wrong by thinking that copper is toxic, because nobody is copper toxic out there in the general population. It doesn't exist, and if it doesn't exist, then they're wrong. So it's as easy as that.
Right. You mean there's not a one-size-fits-all solution?
Except for copper.
Yeah, well,
copper
yes.
can, and it has to be a one-size-fits-all solution, because
start.
everybody's copper deficient.
Right.
I just don't know a great way to make sure that those people who are suffering a lot of detox symptoms, I don't know how to make that go away yet.
Right.
We have learned, and there's been enough evidence to know that almost everybody who's on their deathbed and feel like they're dying, when they start copper, they have the hardest time of it. But when they finally push through, they have the absolute best results. And
so the most copper deficient.
The most copper deficient people have the worst detox symptoms at the beginning, but have the best overall results.
Right.
Because that's what happens when you're copper deficient. Toxins build up because your detoxification mechanism through copper is completely broken. And it's probably almost completely broken in everybody, because there's nobody out there who's taking 10 milligrams to 20 milligrams of copper, except for people in our group. That's it. We're starting something new here, which is why it's the copper revolution.
So it is copper revolution. Okay, so I have to go back to Vote for Pedro.
Okay,
reason why. So we watched it again with our teenage daughter her friend, and they were just like, "Oh, this movie." But the uncle is selling this herbal breast enhancement supplement. Okay, and that's one of the things that we hear a lot of people when they start copper. They're like, "Oh my gosh, my breasts are like growing. It's they're more sensitive. What's going on? It's
my breasts
sort
are
of
sore. They're getting bigger. What's happening?"
Yeah.
Okay.
So
bend and snap, baby. Bend and snap.
No, I'm not going to bend and snap. But
that was from another movie.
That's right. So I
Legally Blonde.
Yeah, that's right. I kind of wanted to talk about breast health.
Okay.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and this maybe should be a whole different live altogether. But
You can mention it now. That's fine.
But copper is, gosh, it heals all of the tissues in your body,
It does.
and it's like.
And it helps your body produce hormones. So we often say back and forth is that I feel like I'm going through puberty a second time.
Right.
My muscles are bigger.
Yes.
Just
all
hormones
of the hormones
raging.
are working better.
They're working better.
Working
That's
more
right.
in concert. So
bend and snap. So Tori.
Yes, bend and snap. So
Come on, baby, bend and snap. Come on. Show us what you got.
So I just recently completed another monthly cycle.
Yes.
And it was perfect.
Perfect period. How many perfect periods have you had now? About
entire
10?
year.
An entire year.
No, it's been an entire year because it started in October of last year as we were getting ready.
That's right.
And getting finished with writing the book
this
and
is
getting
a
ready
very
to publish
important
it.
point. When we had first discovered liquid copper, we started gentle. And we're like, let's apply it fully topically to our body once a week. And she got nauseated a couple of times, and so we're like, let's just, we have to get used to this. And we were hesitant for about the first 6 months. We had discovered copper sulfate about applying it topically because
you can apply iodine topically.
And also that one guy, he died. So we had to be very careful. I mean, just because I suspect that was a lie doesn't mean it actually is. I have to test, right? We went slow. And then a bodybuilder friend of mine online, Tim. Oh, what's his last name? Tim.
Yeah.
Tim Lockhead.
Thank
you, Tim. Tim applied the copper sulfate everywhere to his body almost daily. About half. I think he applied it half upper body, half lower body, almost daily. And I'm like, he's not dead. He's doing great. So
if he's doing it, we can do it.
He's doing it, and he's loving it, and has this great testimonial. We figured we could probably do it too. And that's when the magic happened.
That is when the magic happened.
We took enough to make a difference. And what happened to your periods? They went from about 7 days, right?
To 5 days.
Of medium bleeding.
No, they were medium heavy bleeding.
Medium heavy bleeding.
And then we did
5 to 7 days.
No. We did like 4 days to begin with, and then we did more days. Or are you talking about once we started doing it every day?
Before you started applying copper topically every day, how your periods were like 5 to 7 days of medium bleeding, or
no,
4
they
days?
were like 7 to 10 days.
7 to 10 days of medium to heavy bleeding.
Yes. It was tolerable enough that I could work, but it was still very uncomfortable.
And then you started applying copper about 5 days a week.
5 days a week,
topical head to toe.
And then it went to about 5 days.
And your period then went to 5 days the first time, and then after that it was like 3 days, and it's been that way ever since.
And so then after we decided we will just do it every day. Let's apply the copper every day and just see what happens.
Right.
And the very first month that I bumped up from 5 days to 7 days topically, my period went to 3 days.
3 days.
And it was like light, medium, light. And I was like, oh my goodness.
As well as no cramping, as well as no PMS.
Right. And plus, I was working full time, like
said
60 hours a week.
It was a period
on
like
my feet.
a period like when you were a teenager.
Right. Yeah. It was amazing.
Tremendous.
It was
so
amazing.
we were doing 30 milligrams orally, plus 70 milligrams topically, and we've been there ever since because we just keep getting better and better results the more copper we take.
Right.
Now, I hit the upper limit because at right around 50 to 60 milligrams orally, it was nothing but diarrhea for me. So
so we just
I
decided,
figured
okay,
that's enough. That's bowel tolerance.
We'll
bowel tolerance happens with vitamin C and magnesium. You don't need to go past bowel tolerance because, again, if you're just having liquid poops all the time, you're excreting a ton of minerals when that's happened. So you're not getting any. It's time to back off.
Yes.
You let your body adjust again.
Right. And so this discovery happened in October of last year, right as you were like putting the finishing touches on the book. You were finishing it, writing it, and I was like, this is just the first month that this has happened.
Right.
I don't know if this is going to happen every single month.
We couldn't really put that in the book.
So we couldn't put it in the book because we didn't have the experience and the, to say, yes, this is what's happened.
That's right.
But, a whole entire year.
Right.
And I keep track of it on my phone. I have this period tracker app, and and looking back, the cycles are like 30 days.
It's almost when it's too good to be true and you can't believe it.
Right.
It's very difficult to have a testimony about it. But as the months went on and it was still good.
Right.
No PMS, no difficult cramping.
Right.
Short period, short bleeding, only lasting 3 days.
Yes. No big clots. I mean, I used to have clots that were just this big, like, it's awful, and debilitating.
It's important to note, 30 milligrams of copper didn't work.
It didn't.
So look, you got to go the full way, all the way. At least you had to go all the way in order to get this Sometimes to
get over the hump.
what copper will do for you in the body, you have to take enough to matter. So that's the main lesson. You have to take enough to matter. I see people complaining in the forum all the time on 2 milligrams or 5 milligrams or 3 milligrams or 4 milligrams. Copper's not working. It's not supposed to work at that level.
Right.
We never said it would work at that level. You have to read the quick start guide. Start with 5. That's the beginning. Why? Because if you start at 2, you're in detox hell forever.
Right.
Now, why is it detox hell forever? Because most people get about 2 milligrams of fluoride per day in their food. So if you need 4 milligrams just to detox that, what is 2 milligrams of copper going to do for you? Nothing.
Right.
You'll never even detox what's coming in. You have to get above 5 to have the very base. I'm surprised 5 even works. Theoretically, if I had to say theoretically, 10 is the bare minimum to even begin working, because that's the level that the studies show where a month at 10 milligrams, finally the body will excrete more copper that's coming in, and copper is then doing the job of a detox agent. I don't know how people are getting results on 5 milligrams, but they do. So then I'm like, well, if that's the real world scenario where people are actually getting results at 5, I said, great, start at 5. That's the bare minimum of effectiveness. But all these people who claiming copper's not working for them at less than 5, yeah, it's not supposed to work for you at less than 5, because you're not even beginning to detox.
So I took 2 milligrams of copper.
Oh, that's right.
For about 3 or 4 years before you shared about copper toxicity symptoms, and I was like, oh my goodness. And that was when I was still under the copper is toxic,
Right,
idea.
that's why you would take so low, because you thought it was
toxic. And I would take a
toxic.
very low amount, and also I would buy the tablet and cut it in half, so then it was only 1 milligram.
Right.
So I started with 1 milligram, and
That's
it
right.
did nothing. And then I did 2 milligrams, and still it was
Hardly
nothing.
anything.
But I was also doing the zinc balance.
You did zinc and everything else.
I was doing
MSM
the
sulfur
zinc
and
balance
boron.
supplement, which is like 15 milligrams of zinc to 1 milligram of copper.
Oh, really? Okay.
So that was just depleting me even further.
Oh,
So-
yeah, the zinc to 1, the 15. Yeah, the zinc.
the
yeah,
zinc
yeah.
balance supplement. Anyway, so yeah, you
So,
have to take enough.
And as
too.
far as my experience goes, when I was taking 3 milligrams, 6 milligrams, 9 milligrams, varying the amounts and trying to see what would work for me for about a year and a half, because I was diagnosed copper deficient. And during that time period, I didn't have a single nosebleed. So copper was beginning to work for me. But I couldn't really tell very much. And in fact, I had so little respect for copper, I was like, I'm just going to quit it because it's giving me the nausea. And that's when the problems happened. And then when I found my way back to copper, 10 was great, but I really got dynamite results. Dynamite results when I took it all the way up to 20 milligrams. But I'm a big guy. I'm 220 pounds, so maybe my 20 is more like most people's 10 milligrams. So that you have to take enough copper to work. I got more results at 30. 30 was a little bit hard for me to adjust to at first. And again, it probably wasn't 3 years into it that we started taking 30 regularly, because when we were taking it with pills, we would often run out. And it was so expensive. I'm like, oh my God, baby, we're spending like $60 a month on these copper pills.
Right.
What are we doing? Can we even afford this? It was rough at the beginning. I was so happy when we discovered copper sulfate and how cheap it was. And then we never ran out once we got copper sulfate, which helped for the consistency. And then also the copper sulfate helped apply it topically. And oh my gosh, the world opened up. I just felt like I was getting smarter. I felt like I could sprint and my feet weren't as achy. I mean, just it was fantastic. So again, you have to take enough copper to work. So that's my main message for today.
Yes. Let's go to our.
Let's go to the comments
comments
now. We've been 30,
Hi
30
everybody.
minutes in.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I love watching you
so
both
fun.
age in reverse.
Yes,
Thank you. Oh, explain the side pony. Come on.
Oh, okay. So in Napoleon Dynamite, the main girl character is Deb. And she wears her hair in a side pony, and I just,
Right.
80s, I used to wear my hair in a side pony all the time, basketball, track meets, all the things.
Satori
so
writes
fun.
Liberate and
Yes.
Who's Pedro. Can I just say you guys are super adorable today? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I saw on Satori's page she was going to buy a stripper pole all the way to the ceiling. Did you see that
awesome.
too?
Go Satori. That's awesome.
Can get copper sulfate for sheep in my chemist, but he said that it can't be ingested. Is all copper the same? They all say it's very dangerous. So this is another reason why I like the whole Napoleon Dynamite. He was so unpopular and weird, right? I get it that we are unpopular and weird because the whole world says that copper is toxic. We are like the first people who discovered that it really isn't at these high doses. So
And
you can pretty much
also-
safely ignore what they're saying that it's dangerous. However, you have to buy pure copper sulfate. Look for 99% purity or better, or 99.9% pure, which we have a link to that product in our quick start guide about halfway down after all the warnings.
We bought our crystals on Amazon.
Some copper sulfate is only 90% pure. You don't want to buy those ones, so get the pure
We
stuff.
like the ones that look like little bitty rocks, like little crystals, you know, like bigger. The finely ground
Right.
up stuff, the powder stuff seems to be less
The powder
pure.
stuff is 99% pure.
The crystals are 99.9.
We've tried both. They both work. We got the 99% in the beginning.
The powder
the,
first.
The vast majority of the
That's
remaining
really
1% is only copper oxide, which is a perfectly acceptable and fine form. And there's just like 20 or 30 parts per million lead. But the good news is that the copper detoxes lead, so you don't have to worry about the lead. Another contaminant is arsenic. You don't have to worry about the arsenic because copper detoxes arsenic through the metallothioneins. So we're not getting lead damage. We're actually taking the copper to detoxify lead. And there's something really interesting about 99% purity or better, and that's what makes something, technically speaking, food grade or pharma grade. So when you're buying it 99% pure, you're buying something that is food grade and pharma grade, and it's nothing to worry about, whether either one. Even if there's a little bit of sediment, that's fine. In fact, if you overboil your copper sulfate, it will create a little bit more sediment. So you're not supposed to boil it. You pour boiled water into it.
Right.
And it's
And
fine.
so also whenever people receive their copper sulfate in the mail or whatever, it has all these warnings on the label.
Right.
It looks super scary.
Well, the warnings
It's the
are
same with
some.
borax.
If you take the warnings appropriately, they can be encouragements because copper sulfate is sold as an antifungal. And then people will have the audacity to say, well, copper doesn't kill fungal. That's what its main use is for out there as a salt. So yeah, copper does kill fungals, but also boron and iodine also kill fungals. So we're getting a triple dose of fungal killers in our overall program.
Right.
Satari says, whoa!
Yeah.
I have a vote for Pedro Sugar, and I even did a TikTok as Napoleon.
Julie,
All right.
that is awesome.
We have the coolest
I love
people
it.
in our group.
We do.
Everybody in here knows about
It's
Pedro.
awesome.
So vote for your experience and learn from it.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Detox reactions for me are positive. I know it's working. Still, the positives are far greater, even on the low days. That's right.
Kaylin. That's right.
And she wrote a little
Yes.
watching you age in reverse. Thank you so
Yes.
much. Detoxins. Oh yeah.
Okay,
And
keep
then
going.
Aries Best writes, hi Jason and Jennifer. This is my third month of copper and cofactors. I had nausea with oral copper, but no histamines like sneezing, etc. Had stinging rash
With topical.
with topical copper, so I stopped. The first positive I saw.
There it is.
Yeah, the first positive I saw was clean nose breathing. That's right. It's gone now since the fall started. I'm back to mouth breathing.
Darn.
It's gone now?
Yeah.
Oh, the
she-
clean nose is gone. Back to
Uh-huh.
mouth breathing. About not so positive, I feel very sleepy after I take the second dose, which adds up to 20, and I have to instantly sleep. Thought after 3 months feeling tired and sleepy should stop. If I take it at night, I can't sleep because feeling sleepy is the day only. So when that happens, what you need to do is quit for a couple days and then restart, because sometimes detox pathways get clogged up. Stop all your minerals, do the baking soda kidney cleanse, just give your body a chance to catch up, and then it will probably go great. I can't tell you how many times when people just stop everything and then restart, the world opens back up again.
Yeah, just pulse dose.
Pulse dose it. That's what it's called.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know if you're already doing this or not, but try to get bright light in the morning, like about 30 to 45 minutes after you wake up. Like turn on all the lights in your house, or watch the sunrise, or use a light box. I like to use a light box in the wintertime because whenever you have that bright light on your eyeballs first thing in the morning, it sets your circadian clock, and then 16 hours later you will be so tired and like just ready to go to sleep. So that was one of the biggest things that I did whenever I was healing along my healing journey, was to strengthen my circadian rhythm and to get back set to where I'm tired at night and then I wake up naturally in the morning. They have these light boxes that can also be used as alarm clocks, and that it like wakes you up with a bright light instead of a sound or a noise. But I found that whenever I would wake up with the alarm light, it would reset my circadian clock to where I would wake up even earlier. So that's why they say do it like 45 minutes to an hour after you wake up to then set your circadian
We
clock.
have been actually working pretty hard lately. This is why we haven't been doing our lives, because we wanted to get the book out
We were working
of
on
our
the
new
Quick
Quick
Start
Start
Guide
Guide. There
and
was
the
a lot
journal.
of grammar that we had to go through to make it book worthy.
And we just wanted to clean it up to where it
but
was easier to read. And
you were burning the candle on both ends, because you were
Right, I
working
was
and then
going
you'd
to
come
work.
home and we'd edit it together, because
Yeah.
you're a very good editor. Thank you, baby.
Thank you, baby.
And
it was exhausting, and
exhausting.
that was one of the things I
So-
did not really get to help with the book, the first book,
No, you
the
didn't.
Healing with Minerals
Right, and
book.
this was shorter. I knew you could do it, and this book was mostly your initiative to get it out, and I really thank you for that. And so I let you do most of the editing, so you could see most of the process. And it was getting really close, and I wanted to put it up online, but I said, no, one more day, and you can watch me through the process. So I'll take the mystique out of getting the book on Amazon, and we did that together. But my main point is, we slept 11 hours last night because we had been working so hard getting that book out for everybody. We didn't have energy for lives or anything else, and we finally caught up on our sleep. 11 hours was fantastic.
Right.
One more thing I need to say, Aries, to Aries Best, about how you felt very sleepy on your second dose of copper. Being sleepy is not unique to copper as a mineral. When I first started taking MSM sulfur, it would knock me out. I kind of liked it because I was having insomnia as a problem, and so I'm like, it's the best anti-insomnia thing I've ever had. It worked only for the first 2 to 3 months, and then it no longer had that effect. Why? Because it was really the stirring up of toxins that was putting me out to sleep, okay? So after I was detoxed from MSM sulfur, it no longer acted as a sleep aid. Zinc still does act as a sleep aid, though, but there's another example I have of when you stir up toxins, it's a wonderful sleep aid. Massage. If you do yoga, especially if you do yoga plus massage, so let's say I stretch my rear shoulder and then I massage both the tight muscle as I'm stretching it. I do this everywhere on my body. If I do the chest, I stretch it and I massage it. And I go through my whole body that way, stretching and massaging every muscle that I can. In that way, it stirs up an enormous amount of toxins. And when those toxins are stirred up, what do we get? We get very often congested nose. And sure enough, that stirring up of the toxins also is a wonderful sleep aid, because the toxic brain is a little punchy, or it's a little less clear-headed, it's a more fuzzy, and it's a whole lot easier to sleep. So what you're having, Aries Best, when you're having both symptoms, you're having the congested nose, and you're super sleepy. So the answer is to stop all of the detoxing agents, let your body cleanse, bump up the zinc a little bit, which will help to be the antihistamine that you need. And as you get through that detox, it will no longer be a problem. Or maybe, start also ramping up the detox by, or other detoxers like a green smoothie, or even add massage and green smoothie together. It gets the toxins flowing, gets them out.
Oh, you know what? I want to add something right here, because she's talking about struggling a little bit and having some issues. So, I had been on, and I have been on copper for like 4.5, almost 5 years.
Right,
now with
right,
you,
right.
high copper. And about, 2 months ago now,
3 months.
2 or 3 months now, I started having some really major detox. Like I was having
arm pain,
serious brain fog.
Give me a second.
Okay,
I'll be right back.
A little bit
Continue your
more
story.
like emotional problems and issues. And so I was having some problems. I was really struggling. And so I was like, I don't know what's going on. What kind of detox is this? I don't know, but I'm just going to keep going. Of course, I was working, so, you just keep going, and I couldn't really take days off or whatever. Well, we got to thinking about it these last few weeks. Whenever I got a promotion at work, and so I changed positions. And with that change in position, I got a different company car. And my new company car was a brand new vehicle.
It had what, 1,500 miles on it or less?
Yes, it had like 1,000 miles on
1,000
it
miles,
whenever
yeah.
I got it. So
New
it was
car smell?
New car smell. You know, beautiful new car. It was great. Drives great. All the rest. But in my personal life, I have not bought a brand new car in many years because I know what VOCs do, and VOCs are very
Volatile organic
compounds.
Compounds?
Yeah, organic. Yeah.
Okay.
They're very, very toxic, and so
Bromine is not very organic.
no, and so
Bromine is in new car vehicles. We
yes,
looked up last week.
yes. And so someone had posted in our group about bromine and bromine poison and stuff. I was like, well, maybe that's part of it because I know it's a flame retardant,
Right.
and it's in couches, mattresses,
And there's a lot of chemical toxins in a new car.
sleepwear.
The off-gassing happens for quite some time.
So we started looking it up, and sure enough,
Right. Bromine is in the
really
new car.
think that was what was.
Yeah.
I was very sensitive to
Right.
that, and so it's subsided.
Sort of
but
retoxified everything, and now you're
Yes.
getting past
now it's
it
better.
already.
But I mean, I had all the things: the brain fog, the emotional outburst. I had like, oh my gosh, I would like find the words were wrong. I would say the wrong word for something. I had kidney pain. My back was hurting, kidney pain. I had to do some baking soda, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what's going on?
Right.
Anyway, so that's
Things
so
still
it's-
happen.
things
We're still
still
detoxing
happen.
on
It's
occasion. It's
still-
like I got a weird detox reaction when I stepped up my workouts. I got an acne bump on my left hip and then one on my right hip
That's so
when I started
weird.
doing really heavy squats and a lot more sets. It was very weird.
It
Acne
is
bump
very
from
weird.
That. But the excuse me.
Bless you.
Fluoride gets into the bones, and heavy lifting really is great for bone health. But why? Because it recalcifies the bones, so it starts to mobilize things. So I got an additional bit of fluoride detox from my heavy squats. I mean, that's the reality, and it's good because we sometimes think, oh my gosh, are we resensitized to fluoride? Are we overly sensitized because we get acne if we just screw up and have just a little bit of chicken or 4 pieces of chicken, and it shouldn't be that way, right? But it's actually that our bodies are so good at detoxifying that we get acne from
Immediate
just a little bit of
release.
chicken. Or remember, it was the lemonade at one establishment, shall not be named. We looked at the ingredients, and it was made from a concentrate of grape was in there, and grapes are sprayed with fluoride. So we realized that was a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, my Lugol's iodine is now.
We skipped some
No,
comments.
I know because they were. I feel concerned for people who avoid salt.
Yeah. Yes. Salt is good. Salt in moderate amounts is
So
really
Teresa
good. Yes.
posts the yin and yang. Okay,
Balance.
Aries says my Lugol's iodine. Go ahead and read, baby. I don't drink.
Yeah, my Lugol's iodine is now 100 milligrams, copper 20 milligrams, selenium 400 micrograms, DE is 6 tablespoons.
That's a ton of DE.
That's a
What are you
lot
doing
of
6
DE.
tablespoons of? That's
That's
the
a
problem.
lot.
That's a problem.
Could
That's
be.
that's huge and a huge outlier.
But that's what the Diatomaceous Earth Group advocates.
Try
so.
cutting that back to one teaspoon. 1 teaspoon's enough. This is just way too much. You're blocking everything with that.
Yeah, the DE
1,000
is
AA,
a
zinc
binder, I
25,
believe.
MSM 3000, that's in range. Molybdenum's in range. Magnesium 100, that's fine. Bees, no, okay.
It'll be
Everything else is
69
fine.
niacin.
Bend and snap, lol.
Yes.
That's a great couple costume for you too.
Yes,
that's
thank you.
Thank you. Wow, yeah, and there are polarities or duality in everything. Dark versus light, left versus right, good versus bad. There has to be a duality in copper as well. You cannot prove there is no copper toxicity or that it does not exist. And all actually, it has to. Yeah, we say that all the time. In our proofs that say that copper is not toxic, we say at what levels it is toxic. It's toxic at 20,000 milligrams. That means that all their ideas of copper randomly becoming toxic at 2 milligrams or less are fraudulent because the real toxicity level is 20,000 milligrams. It just doesn't exist in the general population.
Because
it
the
only
general
exists in people
population
who are
doesn't take that
attempting
much.
to commit suicide in India once a year when
Right.
one person does it. And there are examples of people who've taken 100,000 milligrams of copper and still haven't died.
Right.
So copper is not a toxin. Copper is an antitoxin.
Right.
It is a
Detoxifier.
what's the other word for antitoxin? It's
Antidote.
it's an antidote for toxins. That's right. So, yeah, just like people get toxic on water, you have to drink a ton of water. like a gallon and a half to 3 gallons.
Within an hour.
And then people
or so.
will die on water. Right. You have to take a ton of it. Like table salt is just as toxic as copper sulfate, which is also a salt. And the amounts of toxicity is the same. It's like 12 teaspoons. Nobody takes 12 teaspoons of salt, and nobody takes 12 teaspoons of copper sulfate unless they're trying to kill themselves.
Right.
So Gaia Pristine, I can confidently say there's no copper toxicity out there in society, in the general population, as a percentage of the population. The copper toxicity advocates, they claim that 80% of people are copper toxic. That's nonsense, and it's a lie. And we know it's a lie because it works like this. You've heard the telephone game where somebody goes blah, 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 blah in one ear and then to the next ear and then it just changes? Okay. The government has fully said, and here's the statistic, 80 to 81% of people get 0.6 milligrams of copper or less in their diets. The RDA is 0.9. Okay, so 80% of people are copper deficient. Not only that, but when they give people 0.6 milligrams, 80% of people develop copper deficiency symptoms, showing that that is a deficiency level. Okay, so when they know it's a deficiency level that results in copper deficiency symptoms and copper deficiency diseases, and 80% of people have it, we know that 80% of people in the country are copper deficient. That's a fact. It's shown over and over again by study after study after study after study. Okay? Now, somebody comes along and then writes, 80% of people are copper dysregulated. Okay? They changed the wording a little bit. Copper dysregulated. No, it's deficiency, but they wrote it as dysregulated. And then somebody who's a complete and total moron, who's never heard anything about copper, reads that statistic and says copper dysregulated from a guy who, wrote it wrong, from a guy who might have been promoting copper toxicity as an idea. The third guy comes along and goes, oh, copper dysregulated, 80% of people are copper toxic. That's how it works, okay? People lie and change statistics. No, there's not 80% of people copper toxic. It's 80% of people are copper deficient. That's what studies show. There's no copper toxicity in society at all. Not at any percentage. Okay? Period. The end. All right, now I'm done.
Yeah, there you go.
I have to refute these people.
I love copper, but I have to say.
I love copper, but to say there cannot be copper toxicity seems completely incorrect. You're incorrect. You've been proven wrong. Thank you for playing. Sartari, yes.
Yes.
Julie's. It's from the movie called Napoleon Dynamite. Yes, that's Pedro.
Oh,
Flashback.
Pedro.
I have to say, holy wow, I've never felt better and have released over 30 pounds of toxic weight.
Yes.
Go, Sartari, go!
Excellent.
Woo! With copper, we can bust some hot dance moves like Napoleon and surprise everyone. That's right. I feel so much more limber in my body. I'm 52 and there's not a trace of joint pain anywhere. It's fantastic. I love it. Yes. Gotta go.
Oh, there's your mom.
Let's see. Oh, yes, that's the last one. We're almost done. Joyce, my mom. I'm on my hour walk this morning, which I could not do before copper. I am 73.
Yes.
Mom, I am slowly working up to doing an hour walk, but I got flat feet, so I have a slight excuse.
Good job, Mom.
But I've got Sunny, my dog, and she loves to go walking.
Yes,
so
that's so
hour
awesome.
walk. My mom is a badass.
She is. Your mom is awesome.
Okay, everybody. Somebody asked in the forum a couple of months ago, and I have to say props to my mom. I am a second generation supplement nerd because my mom was into supplements from when I was a kid. I had nosebleeds, and she was giving me vitamin C for the nosebleeds. Sometimes they worked. She went to cayenne pepper. Sometimes that worked. And I had to then rediscover vitamin C and cayenne pepper on my own about when I was 18.
Yeah, your
but
mom is
really
smart.
copper was it.
And your mom also took prenatals that had iodine.
She did, so that makes me one of the original iodine babies.
Yes.
She wasn't taking 12 milligrams, but she was taking about 1 milligram, which is probably 5 to 7 times more iodine than most people get. In fact, the amount that people get from salt is like 150 micrograms, which is 0.15 milligrams, and that was enough to change IQ levels up about 15 points across the country when they began to iodize the salt. And my mom was taking about 7 times as much as that.
Right.
My IQ is around 130, 135, depending on the study, depending on the day. It's a little higher when I'm on copper. My copper's on point. But thank you very much, Mom, for making me one of the very first iodine babies. We have people on our forum who are taking copper, pregnant women who ask, is it safe? Copper deficiency is far more dangerous than taking copper for pregnant women, just like iodine is. The iodine doctors, and I'm making a standard post as a standard reply to pregnant women who are asking this question, because copper heals the nerves in 16 different ways. Iodine heals the nerves in just a couple of ways. So copper should create high IQ babies, but there's just never been high copper advocates unless you go all the way back to Radmacher in Germany, who was advocating the 200 milligram level. So we just don't have any historical data to go on yet, but maybe we will get some of that data as time goes on as the copper revolution progresses.
Yeah, new car smell is VOCs and off-gassing. That's right.
Yes. Like Jennifer Aries then writes, okay, Satori's taken off. Aries says, like Jennifer said, Neil's DE group says to take 8 tablespoons or higher to get serious.
Like killing parasites.
So look, we don't have to take that much DE to kill parasites because we kill it with copper. If you're taking that much DE, it could be blocking the copper or doing other weird things.
It's known as a binder too. So things that bind all the good minerals as well as the other things that you're wanting to detox from your body.
Yes, DE can chelate heavy metals, but we're doing that with copper and iodine. You don't want to have to be taking so much of that stuff that you're blocking the other good everything has to be in balance. You don't need to go hog wild on just one nutrient like other people often accuse us of doing with copper. We're taking a mild amount of copper that works in harmony with everything else. So with this much DE, I got tons of die-off symptoms initially, like chills, runny nose, sneezing, headaches, which I've tolerated cheerfully as part of detoxing. But the nose breathing that I got with copper also stopped with fall coming in DE strangely. Yeah, reduce your DE back down to like a teaspoon. Neil says the body needs 8 tablespoons at least. And again, if those people are not using copper, they need the mega dose of 1 to get the results, the healing results that we can get with copper. You know, they're also not taking iodine probably. They're probably not taking MSM sulfur. Take everything in balance and things will be a lot better. You've just tipped things out of balance by going that high. I mean, it's great that you're getting, you know, some of those symptoms. And, you know, we are guilty of doing this too. We take everything in high doses, right? We take the DE, we do everything.
We currently don't take the DE.
We're not the DE now.
Right.
We did it for about
did a teaspoon,
6 months, teaspoon daily for about 6 months.
Yeah, we took a very
tasted
small
like
amount.
mud, and I think we finally decided, well, clearly if it's used to detox aluminum, we've gotten past aluminum detox, so we stopped.
Well, and two, we started traveling, and we didn't want to have to carry the powder because it can be
if the
toxic
powder
if you breathe
busts
it.
open, that could be a horrible danger when you're moving and traveling and moving stuff all the time. It's all going to be, being stirred up, and we don't like that.
Yeah,
D
like
is good, but I
6.
agree. Only need 1
1
teaspoon
teaspoon
several times a day, max 2 tablespoons per day.
Yeah.
They also say you should take it with food, because your digestive juices will help to break it down. That seems to make sense. There's ways to do it more effectively. Also, aluminum researcher Chris Egsley, he writes that and has said that silica waters, like Fiji water or other volcanic waters, because they have it dissolved in water, are more effective than DE because the body doesn't really absorb very much DE.
Right.
It could only absorb as a 1%. Whereas almost all of it is absorbable and then can cross the blood-brain barrier if it's pre-dissolved in these volcanic silica waters. Which
I used to take
Fiji is from a volcano too.
I used to take the BioSil supplement,
right?
Which seemed to be like a bioavailable silica, but I like Fiji water.
Right. It's a little bit more expensive too, but yeah, I mean, hey, DE is great, but you just don't need to do so much that it blocks everything else. So take it in balance. That's our recommendation.
That's right.
Baby, we're caught up and we're at the end.
Yes.
Oh, one more. I give DE to the cats. Excellent for parasites and put it on their coats. That's right. I mean, if you're actually having parasites, DE is great for parasites. So is hydrogen peroxide. So is iodine, and so is copper. That's 4 things that we know of that will get rid of parasites. So there we go. That's our tips for today. Thank you for tuning in, everybody.
Yes.
Hey, Deb.
Hi. Over Pedro.
Over Pedro. Bye, everybody.
Bye.